Good night, everyone. Good night. Um, Sorry for being. I'm 3 minutes late. I think I am actually, and I apologize for being late. But I'm having some major technical difficulties, which is going to affect the quality of the show tonight, which is not good. And I see a couple of people have joined, and I've clicked the like button, so that's a wonderful thing. So if we have two people and we have two likes, that's 100%. It's a two like versus two likes. So um, I don't see the names here, but thanks for joining. We were planning to join exactly at 9:30. I started looking at this at 8:30, and I can tell you I've been working on technical difficulty for the last hour, and I have not got it resolved, which is not good. And I'm very perturbed at myself because I probably should have. I tried to do something and didn't work out well. Nitro say I'm fired. Nitro, we hope to fire Trump at some point. Bless up, Tyrone. Glad you could join us. We just have two quick topics we're going to talk about. Well, maybe not necessarily that quick. One is around a little follow up on the JFF elections and the results of the elections. I think, as I mentioned last night, there's a manifesto which the JFF put out. I'm not sure if it was just in response to the Raymond's team and their manifesto, but regardless, they put one out. So we're going to read through some of the items they propose to do and have some discussion around it. And hopefully we can hold their feet to the fire to make sure they are adhering to their manifesto. By the way, people, we have 7 likes of 14 people. As you come in, just click the like button right away. That should be your first thing. You just click the like button when you come in. So this is one of the things, like when you go to the doctor's office, and well, at least when I go sometimes, it's interesting. They're always late, by the way. When I go to the doctor's office, they're never on time. And I always feel perturbed that I go to the doctor's office and they're not on time and I still have to. It's like they're doing me a favor, which I can never understand with doctors. It's probably the only profession where you spend your money and it's very expensive and act like they're doing you a favor. But anyway, you're doing me a favor by being here. That's the opposite. So it's good that you're here. And we have 19 people. I'm counting, and counting the number of likes. So, but we're going to talk about the manifesto a little bit and some of the proposals, some of them which are pretty good, and hopefully they ultimately materialize. I was hoping to have someone from the JFF on tonight, but I know Rudolph Speed is at the JPL game. I want to talk to Rudolph actually because I'm sure they're extremely happy in the JFF headquarters. Well, there's happiness and sadness in the JFF, which is interesting because some members are no longer in their previous posts, and others have assumed new posts. So some may not have been certain posts, but I'm sure the hierarchy, the people who we see on a regular basis, which is well, two people we see on a regular basis, which is Dennis and Rudolph, but we also know the president who runs the whole operation or oversees the operations. I'm sure he's extremely happy. Just say good night to people. Omar, Toki, Ricardo, thanks for joining. Glad you could be here. I expect to have Brian Mighty here this evening. And I know he's here someplace, so he's going to join me so we can talk about the election. I'm sure he has a perspective. We talk to the manifesto, and then we talk a little bit about the Nations League. Should be a good discussion. And that's where I'm having technical difficulties because I'm trying to put up the team squad builder, and somehow it's blocking me. And I've done everything I can to relieve that, but that's not working for me. So not a good thing. Not a good thing actually. But as you come in, please, people hit the like button. You hear me saying that 101 times because it's important. The more likes we get, the more people view the video. So, Gunners boss, hey Gunners boss, me need to talk to you, I need to talk to you, Gunners. Me have to talk, man, because some of you views them up on the extreme, and we have to bring them to more your opinion, and we value everybody's opinion. And I've always said we all can't think the same, but you have to think about some of the views them, Gunners boss. For a man who has traveled, lived in the UK, lived in the US, born and grown in Jamaica, you have to revisit the views them Gunners. All right. So we have a talk about that. And by the way, people, I got accused yesterday of monopolizing the platform and not bringing other people into the conversation. Even though I try to read most, if not all, the comments. Sometimes I'm reluctant to read, but I read them anyway and try to manage how I engage on those comments. So I did have the phone here this evening. I did have a medical phone. So I will be taking calls actually. So so it should be a good dialogue. So you will you will drive the direction of travel for the conversation. I will start out by some of the things I want to talk about, but you will drive where we go from here. So DW, I already started with some comments. I'm not going to read the comments yet, but my soliloquy would not be too long. So Brian Mighty, tell me when you're ready now, because me know say, I'm gonna add Brian to the stage actually. Brian, are you here? If you're here, take yourself off mute so we can add you to the stage. And Brian, if you're in the chat, just link it up. Which I take and stream Gunners Boss. Maybe all of them are Gunners. Maybe all of them Gunners Boss. I worry for them out extreme, but the one way extreme we'll talk about that a little bit. I mean, we don't want to go down on negative road, right? What we're gonna try to do is even though negativity is you gotta have negative and positive in anything in life, in most things in life. So we have to talk about some things which are uncomfortable, and we also have to get comfortable with the uncomfortable. But Gunners, I'll find a way to engender the conversation so we can talk about it. Gunners Boss, yes, already. No, Gunners Boss, that's not the thing at all. That's not the thing at all. It's not a soap opera, but it's not a lazy river either. So Brian, Brian is on mute. Why are you on mute? Brian is muting himself. I'm not sure when Brian is going to join me. But let me go through so if you're not aware, and I'm sure most, if not all, football aficionados are, the JFF did win the election, which gives them 4 more years in the seat as head of the Jamaica Football Federation. And going forward, whether you like the JFF or not, we'll have to deal with them for 4 more years. And last night I talked a little bit about some of my perspective, which is I think Raymond and his team need to do a post-mortem to figure out what went wrong for them, right? Because if you listen to people in different quarters, they were all gung-ho about the election and the outcome, and it didn't work out well for them. So, and I was hoping Brian will be here to talk a little bit about this, but it looks like he's not. So, as I mentioned also, is that the JFF had a manifesto, and the manifesto I have a copy of. I actually saved it on my computer. I want to make sure we keep on going through it and talking about it. So I wanted to talk to Rudolph tonight about the manifesto because they have no one. So the next step would be for them to execute against their mandate. They said they have goals, objectives. They list them, what them all out, and I'll go through them pretty quickly. But I also want to touch upon the Nations League semifinal coming up this Thursday. I know the team is in Dallas. They've gone through their first training session. Today's what, Monday? Yeah, so the players are there. They've gone through the first training session. They're pretty encouraged about the possibilities of going to the final. So we've talked about that a little bit. And also, we're planning to do something in Dallas before the game. I don't want to talk too much about it because it's in its infancy, but want to do something a little more unique and different. I got to talk to all the parties involved, but want to do it'll be a show out there, but maybe a little bit different type of show. But we'll see if we can get the equipment and necessary facilities to have such a dialogue. But we're hoping that you can join us when we have it. It'll probably be a pre-game type setup where Brian, I know you're backstage. I don't know if you're ready to take mute. So if you unmute yourself, we'll bring you in. Since you say the backstage, come and see you take mute. I might try unmuting at you. So you unmute now, Brian. You there?
Yes, I said I was ready, but I don't know if you weren't hearing me.
No. I couldn't hear you because you mute yourself, so I couldn't hear you.
No, I unmuted and spoke, but I guess
No.
at the time
You're not mute. Can we check the system? My system said why you're still mute. But anyway, it's irrelevant. How you doing? Good night. How you doing?
Yes, good night. Yeah, man, I'm good. Good night to the viewers.
You sound like you
The
don't want to
subscribe.
car park. You sound like you don't want to car park. Where there?
I'm actually at a football field.
Oh, can I get enough feedback? That's why. So you're watching a JPL game, I assume.
But I'm leaving now. I was.
Okay, I hear you. Well, the background is not the greatest.
Hold on. Let me start that out. Give me a minute.
So Joseph Brown and Gunners Boss, I'm gonna stop tracing that chat, man. Stop trace. Yeah, Gunners Boss want drama, but we don't want that much drama. And I tracing thing, like let's just act as we are brothers. I assume Joseph's is a male son. Act like we are brothers and not stop quarrel. We there if we have good dialogue and good debate. We are the tracing thing. So Brian, tell me when you're ready now. Tell me you're ready. I don't want to do all the talking tonight. Some people give me a hard time last night, so I do too much talking. So we want to make sure we distribute the conversation. And by the way, people, as soon as Brian come back and give his perspective, and I can walk to the manifesto, we'll put up the number for the call-in if I can't remember it, frankly. But I do want you to call in tonight, so and we can have that kind of conversation. So Brian is set up busy. So let me go to the manifesto a little bit, just to remind people of what the JFF promises to do going forward. And when Brian comes back, we'll talk a little bit about his perspective on the election, what transpired, and the important thing is that where we go from here. So the JFF plan to establish a women's legacy program, which includes, I sort of summarize this. I'm going to put up the manifesto itself. I can't show it there because I have a problem with my screen. So let me try to find the manifesto though. So let me make sure I read the exact same thing. I'm going to read some summary we put together from the manifesto. So the manifesto, as you can remember, had a listing of their accomplishment. It also told you who the parties were, the team. But then more importantly, it talks about what they plan to do going forward. So here's some of the things that they plan to do, which you have to hold them to the fire for. They're going to establish a women's legacy program, which includes developing establishing a women's football league equivalent to the JPL. So as you know, the JPL is sort of what I would call them sort of a private league right now. So they're going to establish something equivalent to the JPL. I'm talking about the men's league. And they're going to create a women's football individual budget and accountability. So it's almost going to have a parallel program, a parallel football program, sort of equivalent to the men's program, right? Giving the women their due, which they're just due, and treat them as equals, basically. And also, importantly, going to engage the government in identifying a property for a dedicated female team facility. Now, this is a big task in terms of identifying land, getting sponsorship to build out that facility. And they're going to create a women's department in JFF with a minimum staff of general manager. They're going to have finance and IT department. So almost a football program, an organization for the women's team, which then means you can bifurcate the men and the women and focus on the women and give them their just due. Right? So that's what they communicate they're going to be doing. There are more details to this, and I'm going to do all the details. But I think what I want to talk to them about is, we have all these plans, and I'll go through them. How we're going to prioritize and when we're going to start doing them. It's one thing to say you're going to do all these things. Politicians give you promises, and when the appointed time come, them stay away for the first 2 years, and when they get close to election time, then come back and start make promises and then fix a little place here and there and then want your vote. So my hope is that the manifesto will be adhered to, and if not, the constituent is the 56 voters hold them accountable. And by the way, some of the promises are to the parishes. So the goals for the girls, so they have some lofty goals, you know. One is be CONCACAF Women's Champion. Big task when you think about this region of Canada and US. And then not only that, but Mexico is getting better. And more importantly, Mexico is investing in their women program. Big up Jason Guna. Thanks for joining. People, we have 60 people on the chat and 24 likes. But Mr. says from last night, I'm not stingy now. Me think me frugal, but I'm not cheap star, not cheap. And we don't need all free if you give it. Suppose any real things are not give it. As a free like thing. Just push the like button when you come in. Some of the other goals that JFF has is to be ranked in the top 20 for FIFA rankings. Get to the quarterfinals of the next Women's World Cup. And these are what I would call almost some of our minimum goals, right? If you've got to the last 16 and get to the last 8 is not really a stretch, actually. They should be putting semifinal here versus quarterfinal. But it's higher than when we finished last time. Qualify for the Junior Women's World Cup. It's under 17, under 24 women. I'm curious how they're going to do that unless they really leverage overseas born players at the same time simultaneously trying to build out the junior program in Jamaica. Having said that, they didn't give any timeline. So we need timelines for all these things. It's one thing to have these lofty goals, but we need some substance in terms of operationally how you're going to achieve these objectives. They want to have an elite age group girls competition at all youth level, which is under 13, under 15, under 18. And then have a database of minimum of 5,000 girls playing football on the island. I think that needs to change. Have a database of girls who are eligible to play for Jamaica. May I change this JFF? Okay, if you have 5,000 on the island, you have more overseas who are better players in a lot of instances because they play football here. Why wouldn't you want to have a global database versus just a local database? Very narrow thinking. And you know me, I was going to beat that drum there. So for the women's program, interesting objectives and goals, all meant to improve the program, enhance the program, get the program to be more prominent on the world stage at the junior level, but also have very aspirational goals for the women's team. And achievable goals, I think, given where they ended up the last time. I'll come to some of the comments because I see some people here talking about we need infrastructure for women. We'll come to some of the comments. I'm just going to go through the men's team and then I'll come to the comments and then go back to the manifesto. And part of this is to try to get Brian on also to give his perspective and also quickly go through the calls. I want to make sure we get the calls in before, say, at 9:20, 9:30, actually. And then take a lot of calls for the evening. For the men's team, and I'll go through these quickly. Qualify for the 2026 Senior Men's World Cup, which a lot of people think should be a given that the top 3 teams in the region are hosting it, so they automatically qualify, and there's between 3 and 5 additional slots available, and we should be able to gain one of those. But not only go into the World Cup, but get to the last 8. A big goal that, yeah, we haven't got to World Cup since 98, and we jumped right to number 8. We're doing safe quarterfinals with the goal, so we want to win it, because everybody want to win, right? And sometimes that's as realistic as we want to be. But we say last 8. So aspirational goals. One of the whole aspect of doing this is saying they indicate we ensure we have the best Jamaican players available in the world to play for Jamaica and improve FIFA ranking 45th by end of 2024. Where are we now? I don't have the number actually. What's our ranking currently? 40 by end of 2025. All the way up to 25 by 2028. So we have 2 years before the 2030 World Cup, we want to be 25th in the world. Very aspirational, but if we make the changes in it, so between 28 and now is about 4 years. So you need to dramatically improve the football in Jamaica to get talent of Jamaica to inform or be part of the national team, supplemented by overseas born players. That's going to be interesting to get to 25. That's a big task, actually, given that I think we're in the 40s now, or somewhere up in that higher region. Now, maybe, was it 40s or 50s? I'm not sure. Maybe 40s. Part of the aspirational goals also, and I call them aspirational, since we haven't done some of these things for a while, is qualify for the boys under 17 and 20 World Cup competition for the next 4 years in advance of semifinals. And by the way, people, I think Speed mentioned this. I forgot what year, but the under 17 is going to be every year. I'm not sure if it's starting next year when it's starting, but that means the kids will get exposure at a high level on an annual basis, not on this periodic basis as we had before. So it's even more imperative to invest in the local football. You know what I would have them start with the men's football program, even though they have their own separate section. And they have this, I would think they have this construct by priority in terms of have it listed up, but it may not be. This is just my speculation. And we'll get to it, but the coaching piece, the coaching piece and the players' development are symbiotic. They're not mutually exclusive. So one, to me, can't happen without the other. Omar is saying next year is under 17, so 2025. So that's going to be interesting, actually. We have a chance then to see talent emerging much more frequently on the international stage than we have in the past. So it's important to get those kids in a good place. And also, one of the things that we need to do in Jamaica, actually, is all these conflicting situations and personalities and people having kids in their academy or other academy and who not agree with who not full for football team and that nonsense. If you want the best talent, you need to break down those barriers. You need to build those relationships. And we need to just frankly get along because only the kids get hurt in this. The adults can keep on being kids the way they operate, but we need our kids to thrive and to grow and to develop. And they need the avenues and they need the exposure to do so. So those adults who are fighting need to put their differences aside, come together to allow this to occur. They also want to expand participation in beach football and futsal. Really interesting because, the beach football thing was why we're in court and delayed the election process. And they also want to establish boys elite youth competition to run over 6 months per year, parish under 13 and 15, and elite clubs under 17 and 20. So a lot of objectives surrounded around the youth and how we develop and evolve the youth. They also have a separate mandate. So that was sort of the men's program, but then there's a separate initiative around continued plans for youth development, which include establishing a National Youth Academy to manage talent identification program so that, no talent is missed and left behind. They're going to have much more frequent.
Yeah, Kronky, you're hearing me now better now?
Yeah, may I hear you? You're back?
Yeah, man, I'm good now.
So give me 1 second to finish this and then conduct training and capacity building. So I listed out 3 so far, right? 1, developing the women's program, continue enhancing the men's program, and then continue plans for youth development. So I'm going to stop there for the time being, Brian. Come in, Brian, because tell me your thoughts on the election, what you're hearing on the ground as to what's happening, and I'm sure the people who are affected some are elated and some are in sorrow.
I think this election, you would say, is one that flattered to receive, for want of a better term. I thought many.
By the way, Brian, can you guys hear Brian in the chat? I can hear him well. Can you hear him? I hope you can. Keep on going, Brian. Sorry.
Yeah. So many persons on this team, I felt that they were, confident in some sort that they would have, even if not win, they would have had a greater margin of success in terms of number of votes received and stuff. I think eventually when it does settled, it was a little bit surprising based on the results and the campaigning and stuff. But I was a little bit not so sold on that idea because I remember the first election that Ricketts entered into. That time he had Raymond and his team. They went up against Ambassador Stevenson, who came to the public and outlined his manifesto and had these meetings and these public discourse. I mean, at that time it was only the parish presidents, that parishes that were voting. And that didn't seem to carry too much weight. And so this time the same approach was taken. Um, and though I felt it probably would have carried a little bit more weight, I felt that that was the wrong approach. Certainly, past two elections would have shown that the person who is able to be on the ground and influence the person who spends less time in the public domain and more time influencing the persons who can, mark a ballot, certainly has a better chance. I know elections generally favors the incumbent because they are in power, they have access to certain things that um that a challenger may not have access to in terms of like information resources and stuff. Um, but this time you could say the challenge was from inside, so I suppose it should have been a lot more closely contested. But it wasn't. It didn't turn out to be that way. I mean, for many. I mean, there may be many reasons for that. I think by and large, the football in public or the power brokers within the football, they seem to think that Ricketts is the person that can lead us to the promised land or that place of success. And so he was given another term. I mean, uh I wouldn't I think our football is in a state of real concern based on the two persons that were vying for the position. I don't think Mr. Ricketts distinguished himself as an ideal candidate, but I also don't think Mr. Anderson um is any much more suited a candidate for the position. So um it's kind of unfortunate that we don't have more persons who have the time for one and the resources to be able to really put themselves in a position to be able to lead the football. Um, I mean, hopefully in the future you will probably see some of those persons come about. But it's for me, and I mean it's a sentiment of a lot of persons too, that it doesn't really matter which one of these persons won. They don't think that much would have changed in terms of the direction of the program, for want of a better term. I mean, the persons who are employed to the JFF who do the day-to-day runnings, they have pretty much been there throughout whichever administration has been in charge for really. Um, I think one of the positive signs of this whole thing is the construct of the new board in a sense. However, when I look at the composition of the board, there's only one person who is on that board who has not served in an administrative capacity within the JFF before, and that's Earl Stevens. So I think it's just a recycling of the persons who have been there for a very long time, in probably just different roles, per se. So I mean that's my view. In short, I mean I wasn't too surprised in the outcome. I always felt that Ricketts and his team would have done enough to claim victory. But like I said, I think our football is in a little bit of a sad state based on the persons who were putting themselves up, because I don't think either of them has distinguished themselves as ideal candidates that we would want to be leading our football.
So, Brian, as you're talking, sort of thinking about this, which is, and I think DW he says, Brian, the election is generally a complex thing, even though I think it's actually less complex than people think it is. you know your delegates, and they don't care about manifesto. Just look at the state they are from the parishes, the slate from the parish. I meant it's a closed system. I believe that Brian sort of alluded to the fact that maybe the opposition wasn't at the opposition didn't provide I'm gonna paraphrase you or say it in my own words, didn't provide the qualities that one would need to generate the interest required to assume the role or to have the votes. But as DW is saying, isn't it sort of etched in stone that people are situated in their camps, they all know each other, it's an old boys club with a few ladies in it who have been accepted and be part of the club, and nothing will change. And how is that different from the JLP and PNP in Jamaica? Entrenched, institutionalized, that's how things work. And it's not just Jamaica, by the way. The US have Democrats and Republicans. They may have an independent party here and there. Ross Perot did years ago, but it's two parties and it doesn't change. They have the machinery, they have the people, they have the process, they have systems. And people, let me just say this to you, because people think, sometimes they compare us to the UK and the US. In the US, in some places, ain't no voting process. You'd be amazed how the process works. You have no input into it, even though you're part of the electoral process and you vote. You have zero input into how judges are selected and some candidates are selected and who assume role. Zero. So we have a misconception that the US is so much better, for example, than Jamaica. It ain't no different. It's just a little bit different. The levels are different in terms of the nature of how things work. But substantively, sometimes it's even worse, frankly. So go ahead, Brian. Your perspective on that.
I tend to agree. I guess I was sort of having some form of hope that it would have been any different. But yeah, you're right in terms of, I don't think that manifestos had any real impact on this election. I don't think it ever has. The last time Ricketts he didn't even make his manifesto public, even though he said he had one. Anderson manifesto came out like a month before the original date of the election, or a couple of weeks. Ricketts made their manifesto presentation the week of the original election.
Yeah, with a bunch of typos in it and all sort of stuff. They rush it to market. They rush it to
which tells you that they themselves didn't even pay too much attention to detail in terms of wanting to provide that sort of document. I think too the manifesto is an item to hold them account. I think one of the good things is that this time both manifestos were made public, and so the people in the public discourse have something of record that they can use to hold them accountable. Not that it will. I think it may have much impact on how they operate, because, like I said, the 56 people who can mark X's, they seem to always find a way to be able to convince most of them that they are the right choice either ways.
So Brian, here's the thing for me actually, which is, even though the number was expanded from, what was it, 13 to 56, whatever the number was, right?
It was 13 to 56.
Right. But in substance, did it really get expanded? Can think about it.
No. And I have that view too, because, like I said, I think they expanded in numbers, but the same people or entities who could influence votes when it was 13,
right?
All those people can influence a great majority of the votes when it went to 56. Because if you just look at the breakdown of it, of the 56 votes, 26 of those go to party associations.
Right. Yep.
Then you have another 8 that goes to clubs, women's Premier League clubs, 16 that goes to male and female clubs, 8 respectively, depending on the tiers.
And
Those
based on where you
clubs,
finish, I guess, like, based on where you finish in those at that given point in
yes,
time section, yeah, right? So okay.
yes, based on how you finish. So the top 4 teams in the Women's Premier League and the Women's Tier 2, and the top 4 teams in the Men's Premier League and the Men's Tier 2. We don't have a Women's Tier 2, so the top 4 teams in the Women's Premier League get 2 votes each. Um, and if you look across all these people that um, are involved in clubs are somewhat connected to parishes in some position of influence.
Right.
So, and then some of these same people are part of other associations or can influence other associations that make up Pillar 3. So, really and truly, in theory, yes, you have more votes, but the practicality of it, I don't think it really expanded the pool that much.
So you have 16 and what you said, 26.
Yes, and 14 in the other.
So
14
that's what,
Pillar 3.
42 and then the 14. Yeah, it's so you easily get a majority just between two sectors, right? Between the parishes
And the
and
club.
the clubs. That's the
Or
slate,
between
basically.
or between the parishes and Pillar 3.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And what was funny about this, and that's why I thought that it was an overreach by
The,
Raymond,
the,
was
the,
that
the truth the truth is though, in order to have any real chance, the candidate that gets majority of the votes in the parish section is most likely to win.
well, if you can get, yeah. Well, I think here's what was strange to me. So when Raymond and his team had their press conferences, they didn't have half of the parish votes at the meeting, right? They had like a few. They had St. Mary. I think they had Kasaf and a few more parishes. So did they?
Well, so I
Did they
think they would have had
were
Kasafa.
they giving promises that were not provided? Why would they think they could win given where they were?
Um, well, I think subsequent to that, based on their own media talkings and stuff, they probably would have gotten promises from like the clubs and other parishes that probably they thought would have supported them.
Okay.
But it's clear though that some of the people who, because in the interview, Mr. Ricketts said he canvassed based on his canvas, he felt he would have won 40 to 16, and he
Right.
lost 1 vote, so he won 39 to 17. So
So
he was pretty good.
I would have loved to hear what Raymond's canvas gave him. I'm just curious. I'm just curious.
Yeah, yeah, that would be interesting.
This is not unscientific polling, because when you do polling, you give you a sample of people and you extrapolate that sample to the population, and sometimes you just have it all wrong. You interview too many people who are of a certain pedigree or whatever it is, and they don't represent the entire population. This is you going to the actual people who are voting and say, "You gonna vote for me or not? I want me to forgive you vote for me, right?" That's what we expect. So
Well, I don't think they would go to the. Well, certainly from Anderson's team, it doesn't sound as if they went to the actual persons, because even the day of the election or the day before, they were saying they haven't gotten the voters list. Now, um, I found that to be a little bit strange that they were even interested in the list, because the list would come from the affiliates though. So
right.
if let's say you Kronky has an entity who can vote, and I will come to you and convince you enough that I am the best choice, and you would have given me your word to say yes, I'm going to vote for you. Um, I think after that point, it doesn't really matter much, because you, the entity now, would be sending the person to vote and say, hey, go and vote for Brian. Now, based on what I heard and how they were talking, it seems as if they would have spoken to, because you know that each organization has members, and those members would be considered delegates.
Right.
And so they probably would have spoken to Delegate A. But on the day of the election, they see Delegate B coming to say, hey, I'm going to be voting for Cranky's team. So,
Wait. I've been done PA already. I've done PA already.
and so
You're the wrong
at that
delegate.
point,
You're the wrong delegate. You're the wrong delegate.
yes, at that point, it sort of became a little bit of uncertainty. But I'm saying, I'm saying the truth is, if you are able to influence, because ultimately, regardless of how it is said, the presidents are the persons who run these entities. They are going to nominate who's going to vote. So if you need to be able to convince the person who is sending the person to vote that you are the best candidate. It doesn't make sense, because it doesn't make sense to go to a parish and speak to all the clubs in the parish and them say, yes, I'm going to vote for you. You are the right person. But on the day of the election, the president will come and say, hey, you, come, go and vote. And vote. Don't vote for Kronky. Vote for Manning's man. So it may very well be that all the clubs in the entity say that yes, Kronky is the man. But the leaders of organization are the ones who are going to pick the persons who are going to go and cast votes. So they are the persons that you need to market to. Now, if you realize, even in the public platform, Ricketts Ricketts for the most part has been quiet. Him don't have no social media page. him just in his zone, and this was just all over, and trying to get his message across. And it wasn't connecting to the people who mattered at the time.
So Anderson was trying to engage the general public who didn't matter. You're saying,
Yes, that's what I thought.
yeah.
Because even, I mean, even which one of the things was surprising to me is that I was even saying that, that all the persons who are on Ricketts' team that defeated Anderson, all of them came and saw him in the JFF.
Yeah.
He's by far the most experienced person there. So I'm saying he would have been around many presidents. I was thinking that if he decided that he was going to come out and run, he would have learned all of those election savvy tactics and how to obtain people's confidence and votes and stuff like that. But it didn't seem as if he did.
Well, I'm not sure I don't know him well, and I'm making assumptions here. It doesn't seem like he's the best relationship builder, right? The person who is charismatic, so will be able to lead and get people to follow. And I think his resume sort of reflects that in some respects. If you look at his accomplishments or lack thereof, I know I've been pretty hard on him, but I found it really challenging that someone who has so much experience being a parish president and also part of JFF for so long didn't have a broader and more in-depth resume related to his football accomplishments. It just wasn't, the substance wasn't there. And also part of that whole equation is, how do I build relationships? And if your resume speaks for itself, people want to follow you because they figure they can leverage off you, they can learn from you, and you can be an asset. I didn't see that as something in his repertoire, or in his resume, frankly. Let's say repertoire, in terms of what he has done to afford him the responsibility to be the president of the JFF. And Ricketts, when he was last on management program, remember he and Chum were at the JFF when management interviewing Chum. He seemed pretty confident, actually. He didn't seem like he had a stress in the world. I'm sure there's always going to be some semblance of anxiety because you never know how people will vote at the last minute. But he seemed pretty confident.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I said, their team seem to have had their ducks in a row, I guess. Um, but I think maybe this time is just a lesson again to the next person who may be looking to challenge, that you need to reach out to the persons who can put an X on a ballot.
No, if you're going to challenge, it has to be 2032. It's not 2028. Not even close. You need at least an 8-year window. First of all, you need to be a parish president, and you need to build up your resume over time. You're not going to be you're going to be somebody who has this resume outside of football, like you're a business person, well accomplished. or you an ambassador, or you are a doctor, whatever discipline you may be in, that's not going to do it. You're not going to get impressed by that. You have to be in the football, in the trenches, showing you can work from grassroots up to the executive level, having accomplishments over a period of time to clearly demonstrate that you should assume the role. And you also have to have relationships. So unless you change the voting construct whereby you expand the community or the audience or the constituent, I should say, that are allowed to vote. So you move from 56 to 150. So you don't have control. You can't predetermine who's going to win. You have to work for a broad constituent, and your resume will not speak for itself. It's not going to happen. That's the only way you could do it in 4 years. Otherwise, you cannot do it in 4 years. It's not. In fact, you may need 12 years versus 8 years.
Yeah, but I don't believe.
So that means we should look more people to change. Huh?
I don't believe we'll get to that point in terms of the expansion of the voting pool, because the people who are remember the people who are in power now, they're not good. I don't think they are intent on doing that.
Well, here's the thing, though. The only way you can change that is you have to determine how are the parishes constructed. Who are the constituent for the parishes? Because that's where it lies now. How do you?
That would be the clubs, though. That would be the clubs or in the parishes.
When we get to the clubs, the parishes have 26, so you want to get that 26 first, right? How do I? And it's a multi-stage process. How do I influence the constituent parishes to get the presidents you want into those seats and vote out the incumbents? And then second, as you're saying, there are two tiers, which is the clubs to me are probably a bit more flexible, right? Because any club could finish in any position, and they may not be supportive. So you may be able to influence the clubs even more so.
But I'm saying in the parishes, it's the clubs in the parishes that determine who becomes the president.
Right. So how do you influence those clubs? And some of those clubs will also being the ones who finish in the top four.
Yeah.
Also able to vote. So you may be able to kill two birds with one stone in that for a number.
And in some cases, some of those clubs are owned by people who football administrators.
So you can see the challenge anyone would face to try to,
If you look at this scenario, okay, so like I was saying earlier, the only new person who is on the JFF board is the former reggae boy Earl Stevens. School.
Right.
Now, it's always good when you have past players who become administrators, I think, because they would have had certain experiences and they would have had certain level of understanding, and can look, they can bring a perspective from a player's point of view, which is always good. Sometimes when you're running administration, you always want somebody who is looking at the things from the player's perspective, who could better relate and understand. But if you look at it this way, Earl Stevens is employed to a club in Pillar, who is in Pillar 2 that had a vote. So,
right.
So it's this doesn't have anything to do with saying anything negative about Earl, but it's just the way in which the system is set up. It's very difficult for you to find someone who you could say is like an independent, really. Our system is not set up that way.
Yeah, it's very. If you reach the Constitution, and then you look at the voting process, the parties can vote, the mechanism, it's really set up to keep the people in power who are in power today. The entire process is meant to maintain the status quo, and it's almost impossible to break that law unless you get FIFA to influence change and expand the constituent who can vote. This same administration, minus plus a couple people, will continue forever, frankly.
DWS, Earl Stevens was voted as the Confed chairman. So I think the parishes that made up that Confed would have been St. Anne, St. Mary, and probably Trelawney.
So how many Confeds are there?
And 4.
Okay.
So each Confed has a chairman or a chairperson, and they sit on the board. Along with
each person from each Confed sits on the board.
Yes.
So Errol is new. So How did Errol assume the role of Confed head?
Well, he was nominated by his club, Mount Pleasant,
Oh, okay.
and then against so there would have been a local election there amongst the members of the delegates of that confed, and he won
So,
because there's even someone who was on Anderson's team now. Now he's gonna be on the board because he's the Kasafa president. He won the confed chairman for his confed. So regardless of who won, he's still on the board.
right. Okay. Okay. Interesting.
Yes. But of all those persons, Errol would be the newest or the only person who would not have served as in an administrative capacity before. Because all the other persons would have already been either parish presidents or some other administrative position within the footballing sphere.
Right. Okay. Interesting. Very, very interesting. I would, yeah, I did look at the new slate of individuals who have seats, and we just regurgitated what was there before, didn't we? People just flip a couple seats around. Obviously, Raymond probably lost his role and a couple more people, but it's people who've been involved with the football for a while who just have a little bit. Some have similar roles and some have different roles, basically. The same thing.
Yeah.
By the way, not only did the voting construct didn't really change much, but the requirements to be eligible to be voted into the JFF administration, that means you have to be you have to be local for a long time for that to occur. So you first have to be local, and then second, I did say locally based, and then second, you have to be embedded in the institution of football to even be a consideration for a role. It's a status quo for a long time. It's no different from JFP, PNP, frankly.
Yeah, and I don't have any hope that it will change anytime soon either.
No, it's not changing. It's not changing. No matter who may have aspirations of someday getting that seat, the people who are there now, I'm sure people are there thinking about and may like to be president. So they probably should start setting themselves up to assume Ricketts' role. I'm not sure this is his last
term
as president, but I'm sure. Did he say it's his last go around? Or is he president for life, like Putin?
well, many persons would have said that, and then they change their mind.
You mean like what, the DPP? But anyway, let me not get there. So for this,
no. You know that. Funny enough, you know that in the JCA, Jamaica Cricket Association.
Yeah.
So last term, the president said he was gonna walk away, and at the last minute he changed his mind, and his VP challenged him.
It hurt him foot. He couldn't walk anymore.
His VP challenged him and lost. And this time around, he gave another VP the same promise. And now he's changed his mind again. And his VP is challenging him again.
It's
this time, both of his VPs are challenging him.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think people sometimes see certain roles. There are certain privileges come with those roles. And they realize when the tenure is coming time to expire, they realize that, you know what, I like this job. So it has certain privileges associated with it. I want to maintain it. So it's tough to get certain people out of power. So it's interesting. What do you think of the so now it's the election is completed. We have the parties who are in power. Do you have any perspective as related to the JFF? What would you like to see them do in the immediate future, apart from the competitions that we're in? Anything on your mind as you think about this?
Well, I think the first order of business, like, I really think there needs to be some resolution brought to this Reggae Girl scenario. And I think for too long the JFF has not been acting, I'm going to use your favorite term, as the adults in the room. And I think more than ever now, there needs to be a decision. So it's either they're gonna sit down and have a conversation and try and resolve things, or they're gonna just be blunt and say, "Hey, we're moving past these players now, and we're looking to some new players for the future." Because I don't think this limbo situation helps anyone's cause. Um, Frankly, I think on both sides you would have had mistakes made that 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 both sides could resolve. But I don't know. I mean, I'm really expecting the JFF to be the adult in the room and 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 bring a resolution to this situation.
Yeah, I normally I try to be, well, I shouldn't say normally. Sometimes I try to be optimistic. This is a wait and see for me. I could see we have two stubborn parties, and I would agree that I think the JFF needs to, now they're in a position of strength. They need to be a little bit more humble and have a little more humility and try to be the bigger people and bring this to closure. I could see with the girls maybe somewhat push back and say things have to change, and the JFF is saying that we're now here for 4 years because you can't change anything. Um, but I think the girls have to also realize that if they want to move women's football along, they're part of the solution. They can't be part of the problem. So what I mean by that, they have to keep football in the public domain. They have to build up that camaraderie around football for women, because when you lose, people get disinterested. When you generate buzz, you generate interest. It's just how things work. And if we have a team that is not at full strength and we keep losing, the interest is going to dissipate, and we won't be in a position where women's football is on people's tongues and they're talking about it and they're interested and they're supported. People will lose interest, especially when the men's team is doing well. So my hope would be the women work with the JFF to come to a good place and set an example for the younger generation coming through. Because a lot of the women in this team are more seasoned players and will be retiring in the next 0 to 5 years, frankly. And kids need to have women they can emulate, the girls they can emulate, and be an example for them and help them transition to the national team. So I would hope that they would see this as an opportunity versus right now it seemed like it's something else, frankly. See more of a problem than an opportunity, frankly. So, but that's a good point you're making in terms of anything else, try to bring that to closure. At a good place, frankly.
Um, well, I think that would be the first order of business. I think the other thing that I think they really need to resolve is this whole matter of this restricted financing situation. I mean, yeah, they come on the platforms a lot of time and they talk and tell us about the debt and those stuff. But the fact of the matter is, if they were operating an efficient organization, there would be no need for them to be on a restricted financing. Otherwise, all the countries who have debts, because I don't think the JFF is the only federation who has debt outstanding, but I don't think all the countries who have a debt are under restricted financing. So they need to find a way to sort that out. I think based on what I've heard, FIFA would have given them a template as to what they need to do and how they need to operate. And quite frankly, I think they just need to get in line. Because, I mean, one of the negatives of that whole situation is they are missing out on a lot of grants that they could access, which could help to develop the football. And that's not helping anyone's cause. And each day, the debt that they have, or the debt that they have is growing. So, I mean, there's no greater motivation than to get in line so you can receive grants, which could be able to offset the cost of some of the programs that could help to develop the football a lot better. Otherwise, you're gonna have to Otherwise, you're gonna have to finance those programs yourself or do without them, which is not within your best interest, really.
Yeah, well, they brought Chung in as the financial expert and the CPA to help as a GenSec, which part of his mandate I would assume would be the finances of the organization. So hopefully he can work through whatever challenges they have with FIFA. They can have the restrictions lifted. As you talked about, they can sufficiently serve. There's nothing wrong with having debt, Just got to be able to service your debt, and do it timely, and not overpay your interest payments, and pay down on the debt. And if they do that well, hopefully, they'll be able to generate more resources from FIFA, which can only help in supporting the program. And given some of the initiatives they have planned and some of their objectives, you're going to need a lot of resources to do this. So we'll see if the manifesto was just one of those political documents for out there that people put together that stays on the shelf, or will they execute against it? Should be interesting. Should be very interesting.
I mean, to be honest, I don't think this whole financial situation is anything new because before Chung became the GenSec, he was the chairman of the finance committee of the JFF. So it's not a new situation to him, really.
Right. Well, hopefully it doesn't go like how. Hopefully the finances are not like how we're supposed to have paid the girls, because that was a go around for a while to get to a good place. Even though my understanding is that that's supposed to have now been settled, but that took much longer than it should. It came that complex to figure out how much you owe somebody and just pay them versus it being going on ad nauseum. What was August through March or through February? So it took way too long to bring that to closure. Actually, even though, as we all know, there are more issues than just the monetary aspect. So you're focused on getting the situation resolved with the girls, lifting the FIFA restrictions. Any other prominent items you want to bring to the table? And people, I just dropped in the chat the calling number 347.
Kronky?
Calling number, actually. I gave you the wrong calling number. I have to change this. I have an 876 number. I don't know why I gave you the calling number.
Yeah, Kronky, check the private chat here. Check the private chat.
Yeah, so Brian had to run, people. So I think I'm on my own. Let me try to get the true private number. I think I have two other numbers here. I don't want to give out the 37 number is not it. So let me find the number that I have here, which I can't seem to locate. And I have an 876 number. I'm gonna drop that number instead of that number. And as I mentioned before, actually, I think I mentioned this in the last show. I'm going down to Texas tomorrow, and I know people know some of love flying about me. I go down there anyway, and my hope is that we'll be able to do a show or two from Dallas. Hopefully, it should be good. There are a number of people from New York who are going, so hopefully we will be able to do a couple of shows. And my hope is also we can bring forth some of those individuals to be part of that show. So instead of me just being here doing soliloquies, we can bring those people into the shows. I'm trying to figure out how to make sure I come up with the right number. You can tell this is an impromptu show. I call management and say to get somebody from the JFF on, and somebody was supposed to come on, but they were conflicted, so they couldn't make it. Looks like I'm struggling to find a number here. This number thing is not what I thought it would be. I'm supposed to have a 876 number. So try this number, people. I hope it works. 685-202-7065. Let me see if that number works. You can tell I'm not prepared for this thing as I should be. I want to see if this number works. I'm supposed to have an 876 number, and I cannot find that number for the life of me. But if you want to call in, and I'll take some of the comments in the comment section. If you want to call in, please do so. Try the number and see if the number work. DW was saying, I don't think the restricted situation is hurting the JFF that much. Not like they don't get money, but instead of getting million, they get 10 installments of 100K. Interesting. So you're saying they don't get the money all at once? Is that what you're saying, DW? But they still get the money? It's an interesting one. If what you're saying is right, they still get the money. So why would they care, right? But is that the case though? Do they still get the funding, or is it that they get less than they're supposed to get? I'll be curious. Because 10 installments of 100K is the same thing, right? Still getting $1 million. So do people know if that's the case? You know, saying, no, not cataract. So sounds like if you have an aversion to flying, don't you travel a lot? Peter, yeah, me fly what GPS, but I don't like fly. When I like flying, that is irrelevant. The flight, I have to fly. If I not fly, I not fly down. I was in Atlanta last month. I drove down there. I don't like driving 13 hours. No. I want to fly if I have to. And Texas is like 20-something hours, so I'm not going to drive that far. But no, I mean, I like the flying thing. And I've flown too much in my time not to like flying, but I'm on the plane, I see people who just comfortably relax when I relax. I just want the flight over with. I like heights. It's a heights thing. It's not even a flight thing anyway. What's this fascination with cataract rangering? Will cataract be allowed to return to his space in Judas free? What space are we talking about? Big up Tennessee. What space are we talking about rangering? Cataract is on other channels, you know. I'm sure he can join any channel he wants to. No one restrict anyone from going into chats and even joining channel. I'm sure he has the ability, and if he has the desire, he can go on these channels. So I don't think he's precluded from doing so at all, frankly. I'm sure he can join channels if he so chooses. So Brain, you seem to suggest as if cataract is restricted. I don't think so. I heard him on a channel today, actually. So he's making the rounds. He was a little bit quiet for a while because, he's probably out campaigning. And he ran a what would deem to be now an unsuccessful campaign, but it's a good thing. Initially I was perturbed in terms of, I won't say what I thought about the whole situation, but competition is always good. So it allowed the JFF to even put together something that suggests to us that they're going to try to improve. And that only comes from being sort of almost forced to do so. And he don't like flying. He didn't fly, Peter. There's a difference between don't like flying and flying. Dennis Bergkamp didn't fly at all. He and for those who don't know, they may be young. Dennis Bergkamp played for Arsenal. Was one of Arsenal's best players. He didn't fly. He took trains and buses throughout Europe, and they flew outside of Europe. He just didn't fly. Good night, Duckland. As you come in, Duckland, and you and Peter just hit the like button. So people try to call the 347 number. I'm gonna use that number. It's a real number. I thought I had an 876 number. You can do it through WhatsApp, right? So it's, as you know, WhatsApp is free. Just call the 347 number. I'll use that number tonight. 347-728-8625. And for those of you who are complaining that, Kronky is just a talker, a lot of people come to participate, call the number so we can have a conversation. Call the number. Don't run from the number. And by the way, I actually, even though we're talking football, me I always digress, right? I like digress. I was listening to a program today. I have some more time for me on that now. A program called Make We Talk. I'm not sure how I come across that channel. It was my second time listening to it, and they were talking about the entertainer situation. Okay, something like these people name all the time, and the procedural errors that were made that's now going to allow for the Privy Council in England to put the case back to the appeals court, and they're going to do a retrial. And it was amazing just listening to the conversation as to how people thought, what their perspective were. If I was to gauge the percentage of those who were for the person and those against it, probably was 95-5 or 90-10. I thought it was really interesting, actually. And I didn't think and I said it to the moderator because I did call into the program. I'm not sure the person was presenting the entire picture, even though the focus was on the procedural errors that were made. And even those procedures, it reminded me of funny with the situation in Atlanta. It wasn't good when you had procedural errors, but I'm not sure it was all against the accused, frankly. But that's another story for another day. As I said, this is a football program, so we're not delve too much in anything there, but it's always interesting to get involved in those situations and see how people think and what their views were. And as I said to the host, as you talk about these things, there's two parties to it. There's the accused and the victims. And I'm sure the victim are people too. So to talk about everything, they just talk about one side of it. But anyway, story for a different day. But I'm not going to stay on long tonight. I think we're at 10:44 in the Eastern region, 9:44 in Texas, Midwest, and probably similar time in Jamaica. I did want to put up the football team tonight, but I decided, you know what? We should wait, actually, to put the team up, talk about it quite a bit, do some comparisons. As I mentioned at the inception of the program, we're probably trying to do something in Texas if we can. I know Coach Minzy is going down on Wednesday. I'm going down tomorrow. There are a number of people from New York who I know are going down. We want to do a show down there if we get an opportunity to do so in a really good setting. And I would love for each of you to join the program. It should be fun, actually. There'll be much more involvement of people if we can get an audience and we can have a setup where we may not have regular cameras, but maybe a similar setup like this, but we have different people at the table and have a way of bringing people into the conversation. But I'd love to do something a bit more open and have much more interaction and engagement with live people on the ground. So my hope is that when we get to Texas, we can do that. We may not have all the equipment, but a regular camera our computer should be able to do some of that, actually. So it should be interesting if we can do that. And I'm not sure we'll be able to engage with the players, but at a minimum, some of the fans who are going to be on the ground, we can be able to have conversations with them. And hopefully we can do it before the game. So tune in for more on that. I'll probably have to provide more by Wednesday. The game is on Thursday. Hopefully we can meet up close to the stadium before the game on Thursday and have some really good conversations and maybe do a live stream, actually. I'm sure a lot of YouTubers will be doing streams pre-game, but we want to be able to do something on the ground there, which should be really interesting, actually, if it works out the way we're thinking about it. The idea was broached today, so we hope to execute on it. So it should be good if we can actually get that done. And I'm getting a little more encouraged about the game. See some pictures of the team and seeing like people are up for the game. So I'll see more when I get down the ground about how that is. But my hope is that the team is very focused. Everybody who has been invited and who we know are supposed to be there are there or will be there. We know we have some injuries. We know we have some suspensions. But the hope is that whatever team we put on the field will be competitive and can come up with the victory. And I know some of you are praying to win. I'm going to keep telling you, about the prayer thing. God on two sides. So the people have to do the players have to do the job themselves. Then not get no holy help. Have to do the job themselves. Because then if the US asks God for help, then we ask God for help them, then how that work? Can't help everybody. Help them not to get injured, but it shouldn't be that one is trying to get some divine help to win a football game when both sides probably can ask for the same thing, actually. Brain drain, you're being harsh in a brain drain, you're being harsh. Somebody coming. So Floyd says, can you announce that we'll have tickets able for those who want tickets in Jamaica section? So Floyd, do you have tickets to sell? Is that what you're saying? Because I assume that you're going to be at the game. So what is the Jamaica section? Is that section 213? At least that's where I have my tickets. So hopefully that's the section. So Floyd, come back to me on that. Are we saying we have tickets in 213 and we have tickets to sell? So Big Trouble said, what level would you start, Kronky? Big Trouble, I'm not going to talk about the 11 tonight because I'm very disappointed that I'm getting blocked on StreamYard to put my team up. And I want to start the dialogue. So we'll do that either Wednesday or Thursday. We'll go through that. I'm getting a call in. Good night. You're on, I am sure, sports. Bless up. Who's this? It sounds like I'm familiar. Wait, 1 second. I don't think people can hear it. Let me try to turn this up. Yeah, we can't hear you. Hello?
Yeah, I hear my Kronky.
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you guys hear the caller? Who is this? I know who you are, but can you announce yourself, caller?
Yeah, man. Gunners, man.
Gunners.
The Gunners boss here. You see, you want me to put on trial, so I'm here. Before you even start the trial, it's guilty as charged. So you don't have to even waste the money. The taxpayers' money to go to trial.
You're not going to Privy Council to get relief.
No, I'm not even guilty as charged.
Okay. No, I was just saying, Gunners boss, that you said something in the comments the other day. You and I know what they were. I think they're a little bit harsh. I think sometimes we can downplay some of those comments, can't we? We can be milder in our comments.
Right to his own destiny. So you happen. Anything when he said, that me say. Anybody when I like when he say, that me say.
So people, wait, Gunners boss. Hey, so Gunners boss, so like somebody me know him, I'm not calling on name. You hear me, Gunners boss? So like somebody else me know who said the same thing, right? Nobody can tell him what to do. What I'm saying, Allah, I saw it go. But shouldn't we, Gunners boss? Isn't there room for compromise in life? Isn't there room to change one's perspective? Isn't there room to reduce the toxicity of one's comment?
When things change, we will change. Of course, everything is open for change, you know. That is life, you know. We live in a changing time, you know. It's called evolution, right? I'm not too bright. Me literate still, but we kind of know where them words them mean still. So
that means you're illiterate. So
evolving. So of course there's always going to be changes.
Right. So Gunnar as well, what's your view on the Reggae Boyz and the US game coming up?
The views on the Reggae Boyz and the US game coming up. The people then say, based on when you're year 5, I will start as out.
Right.
And we not have no one to replace the caliber of say for Leon Bailey. We have people can replace him, but them now gonna put in his kind of quality of work maybe. So I am looking for a W, but my heart tell me say a L. My mouth say win, but my heart say loss.
Okay.
Honest truth. We never good enough to beat the USA on a regular basis, and we short-handed now even make it worse. And that, I believe, is objective in my opinion.
Okay. Now, look, I can't disagree with you in terms of your perspective, which is similar to mine, which is it's going to be a difficult task to beat the US, right? When you're short-handed. It's difficult when you're at full strength, and it's worse than when they're at full strength and you're not at full strength. And it's not in full strength. We are missing 5 of 11. That's a lot to be losing a team.
The joke, the trolling part of my conversation was, because you have to understand, saying, if I am on the stream, or I am here, I am not here to make people sorry or make people angry, because that is not why we're here. So if people want to take my conversation and go to their bed and wake up with it in the night instead of going to their females company, and that's their problem. Good for you, know. And that may I tell somehow, no, somehow to take this YouTube and this content. We are here to create content. So whatever whatever make you talk about me, that's what I am going to talk about because it will keep the conversation going, you idiots. Sorry for some.
So go as bad. This is the last two words you say.
You say we are brothers, so I can call my brothers jokers and whatever.
But joker is different from idiot. Gunner's boss. You know the worst thing you can tell a person. You know the worst thing you can tell them. Say them idiot and they're stupid. That's the worst thing you can tell them. You know.
Never say stupid.
You say idiot, but I see him thing. Gunner's boss. I see him thing.
And somehow we were broke, and somehow we are idiot. You never see a man in a comment that tell me I'm illiterate, so I tell him no, say I'm idiot.
But Gunner's boss, if you tell me something broke, you know. Gunner's boss,
Mr. Joseph Brown, respect to you, sir. You are my brother, but you tell me I'm illiterate, so yes, that is it. Without what you know, and we say everything on our type, you know. So no, Kronky. But we'll get back to the business of sports and dark sports.
Yes.
And you drop me over there, so you know, I don't want to go.
No, and you bring it up. You bring it up a while ago.
Kronky, when we come over here, our content become clear, right?
All right.
Yeah. When we go, that me do.
All right.
I want to laugh, I want to cry after the business, and that me do.
All right.
That's why I'm all over the place.
Right. So we're on the same page. So go ahead.
So, yeah, man. So as me, I say now, with the football thing, all right, let's me see it, you know, so. Oh boy. I said this can be ulterior motive also. He cannot, maybe not want to come. So I want to know which one of them is the extreme one, because I already said the first comment was a troll comment just to make some people, rile up some people. And I get my joy out of doing that, have them calling me names, which I appreciate very much. I hear people typing that I jumped the border and come over here in all caps. It's like I did not say that. It's like you breaking news. So tell me, say him have sense. If me come for the thing I come say something, you don't know nothing about the immigration status or how me there from 1992. And travel go to Jamaica and go anywhere me want to go when me ready. And you are going to tell me something when you say over here. You know, since you're a joke, man, you're going to type it in the answer. And I got to repeat what me say. I mean, you did say that over here. So if me come over here and say me that clown, you cannot go tell nobody it's a clown. I mean, it's a clown, brother. You know if you have sense.
So Gunner's boss, we're going to keep the show positive tonight. And as you told me as part of this conversation, you're saying we need to, you know, keep it a certain place. So let's not go into anything negative. We are positive from going.
Back to this now. When me I say now,
yeah.
Maybe the player, now I call him name, if me do it before me apologize. Maybe he have ulterior motive. As the leader of the team and the one to show example, he know what he was doing and he break curfew willfully just to know that the coach was gonna take this action because he know what was coming. That can be a part of it. So me want to know now which one of the comments now the people them. Which one of them you say me extreme about now?
No, that wasn't it tonight. It wasn't about that situation. It was a different situation. But I'm not going to bring it up tonight. I'm going to leave it alone. We're talking Nations League and Reggae Boyz. So from what you're saying in Bailey's case, actually, which is you're saying, do you think the punishment was extreme in his case? Do you think he should have been punished, firstly? And secondly, do you think it's extreme given we're in the semifinal?
I mean, based on the situation and where we're at now, you could have given him a stern warning. Make him sit on the bench for the first 30 minutes and start him later on, and then you could have explained why he didn't start or something.
Suppose it wasn't the first time.
It's too extreme. You could have done better. You could have even put him on for the last 45 and make him know the way, I'm here, boss. Make him bring you here and sit you down if you violate. So don't violate. You understand? But now you know the way I go up against with Nemesis and you're short to be up there, they don't say we did short change already. You're playing for a hell here. So now, I don't know how the fans them and the people them are going to sit and talk to the coach about this, but I believe it was too extreme. You could have given him 45, even the first half for the bench, or 30 minutes on the bench. I'm embarrassing that way. Making no say a star, but the coach a bigger star, and the JFF and the Jamaica Reggae Boyz is bigger than you. You understand? This is a good punishment, you know. For example, you know. But suppose this is a young player now. Suppose, say for instance now, I know what the response going to do, but I will allow the people to respond to it. So take for instance now the player decides that based on the disrespect and a long time them a disrespect me and think me never come back. We have to go deal with that the same way.
Right, but the player has no place to go.
But suppose me personally, I don't think he really wanna go nowhere. I think he's good where he's at. He's very good where he's at. And if I was him personally and I feel like I had a star, you're not gonna put me out in the public like that. I'm really have a reason.
So Gunners boss, suppose it's not the first time this occurred.
Well, that is what I said, I don't know if it's the first or the second time. Well, if this is a thing we continue happening, then him is a repeat offender. So it's time for we to decide. Well, we can survive without you, and we can go along without you. If that is what it is, it's what it is. It is what it is, But if you keep on and do the same thing over and over again and expect to get different results, no, you get the wrong. You always get it about a favorable result. Now the table turn against you. What you have?
Right.
You have to put it down and say, boy, coach, say a long time, you have to draw me and put me under some discipline. So now me understand the program and how the program are running. So the things to go. You understand?
Yeah.
So me is not even right now. I'm straight down the middle with this thing. 50-50. You understand? And at the end of the day, my end result is if he's a repeated or a habitual offender, we use a legal term, then you have to set an example. But since for the first time, we in the public is going to know about it. Me not satisfied with you left him out of a game against the United States, going for something but can give we some shine. You understand what I say?
Right.
Me think about a game. Since for the first time, you never come out of that, we never understand that this is a man with a jump curfew and violate the program and things he's doing is detrimental to the program. You understand? Because if you do it, everybody else are going to have to do it.
Right. So Gunners boss, you realize the coach said that this was leaked, right? So I'm not sure they had any intentions of providing the explanation they did. They may have been providing something else, but they were forced to do so because it was leaked.
But whether it leaked or not, you have to come out and tell us.
Yeah, but they could have told us anything. They could have told us anything.
Them leak it because they want to sway the public view on them. That is my opinion of it. And if it was leaked, they leaked it. Because who it benefit more to leak?
Right. So here's somebody saying something, Gunners boss, which I find interesting. Brando is saying there's too much confusion around the Bailey situation. Reports that he declined the call-up. Coach begged player to play. Coaches does not have a curfew. Where do we get these things from, Brando? Where do we get them things from? That's total nonsense.
But if you
total nonsense.
Then again, I don't even know how this curfew.
It's total. What Brando is saying, if anybody's saying that, it's total nonsense. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Total nonsense. By the way, what's very funny about this is the coach said 2 players were suspended, and we only talk about 1 player.
So what Brando's saying, the coach don't have a curfew?
Yeah. So the coach says curfew is 10 p.m. and Brando is saying what he's hearing, that the player didn't want to come. Coach begged the player to play and there's no curfew. Here's what there's another reason why that's fallacy and that's nonsense. So first of all, if you remember the last window, the player was injured and still came and played, right? The player has been a chief recruiter for the national team. The player is one of the leaders of the national team. Yes, the player's behavior may not reflect that leadership role, but the player has been instrumental in trying to get people to come play for the national team. And to me, has not negated a call-up since he's been here. So we should not equate or confuse the player's performance for the national team with his desire and his commitment to the national team. And I think it's unfair to the player to be spreading conspiracy theory about him not taking the call up. I don't think that's true at all. I don't think that's fair to the player, and it's not fair to make those comments. Seriously.
Truth be told, Kronky.
Yeah.
You're right. Truth be told, The JFF could not kept out Leon Bailey out of this game without letting the public know. So nothing was leaked.
Well, no, the timing was
And we
leaked.
have to know before the game.
No, the timing was leaked. The timing. They want to control the narrative, and they weren't able to control it, right?
Yeah. Because you can't control a narrative like that because you have to remember, so this is new media.
Yeah.
We all know somebody who knows somebody, so everybody has sources now. So we have to know what's going on inside the camp, regardless of whether you like it or not. You know, control this no more. Because players have them friends who control the social media and those things too. And everybody are trying to put them own thing out there.
Right.
That's what nobody is going to over the TV, this and the radio, that no more. Everybody is coming around here. Come talk to the Ryans and the Manning and Kronky and those people are idiot me coming in when you ready to come make a call. But what the important people in this file, in this product is coming over here to talk to us and let us understand what happened. So only the wrong for never come tell we say Mr. Speed and whoever the media relation people, them and Simon, them, they do wrong for never come tell we say Leon Bailey not play, and why Leon Bailey not play, and tell we say why Leon Bailey are getting in trouble because he might jump curse you and everything. Whatever it is, me not believe say me that persistent offender. I believe the coach want to make us become a star and make an example of a star player and being too harsh on him and should have been more lenient with the first time offender, because I have to say he's a first time offender because this is the first time we know about this thing. All right, sir?
No, it's the first time we know about it, but I'm not sure it's the first time it occurred.
Well, it is the first time we, the public, know about it. So see, when you just tell the man, same people do the same thing, you know.
I say, Gunner's boss. So Gunner's boss. Two things about, let me just say. First of all, I said, we're not sure it's the first time it occurred. I never said it wasn't the first time it occurred. There's a difference between I am not sure versus a definitive statement saying it's not the first time. Right? And even if I knew it, was the first time, I probably wouldn't say it either.
Publicly or secretly, have you ever heard there was another instant when he jumped in curfew before?
I'm not going to answer that question. What I would say to this is this. What I would say to that is this. Wait. No. But here's my point on this. You remember when I won't call the kids, when the players played in Jamaica and the coach didn't have a curfew then, and there's a lot of public uproar about players out partying, and it wasn't only one player, it was a number of players out partying before the game was played, right? That was in the public domain. I think just in the public domain because people see them out partying. So the coach basically said at that point in time, these are grown-ups. We don't have those. Basically, I was paraphrased by saying, you don't have curfew for players. They're adults. But a curfew was implemented and instituted because of what transpired previously. So I would assume it's not the first time. I would assume it's not the first time it occurred because in most instances, you don't take a drastic action like what was taken, suspend a person for a semi-final of a Nations League tournament when he's one of your better players.
If me I go work a man and if somebody else want call, just type in the comments, you want call a 347, me call a straight call, me make some a call straight overseas, call me as an overseas number.
Yeah, I have an 876 number. Gunner's boss. Somehow I can't locate it. I'm not sure why I can't locate it, but I have an 876 number. It's supposed to be on the phone because it's a different phone I'm using, but I can't seem to find it. I'm trying to find it. So, but it's supposed to be a WhatsApp number also. I think both the 347 and the.
No, it's the 347 number.
So there's a 685-202-706 number actually. There's a 685-202-7065 number, which also should work. I'm not sure why I can't find my 876 number.
Well, you call this call this free to me, so you call here.
I'm gonna get the 876 number though. I make sure.
WhatsApp number, people.
Yeah, it's.
Have a debate next. We can have a debate. Call me a Discord. Call Ranger and I'll make we have that discussion because it's lively. I'm going to work a man. I'm going to keep carefully. We wake up late. You know, kind of tired.
I think this is on WhatsApp too, Brain Gunners Boss. You can call the WhatsApp number and I can get me actually.
Okay, no man, a good man.
Okay.
Yeah, man. So when I say really factually speaking, it could have been more. Because regardless of the fact we don't know about the other instances, we know about this one. So if you even come out now and say some other things that he died in the past, we never know about in the past, you know. So right now, me not gonna look for in the past thing. Me I look on the present situation. This is the first one I know about. You've been very harsh on the player.
No, I'm not. But Gunners Boss, I'm not harsh on the player. I'm saying this.
No, not you. I'm not talking about
okay.
Houston, not you, Kronky, not you. I'm talking about the coach and the organization.
Okay.
He is not going to play for a full game, knowing that really, a fact, if he broke curfew last year down at Jamaica, this year we have a play. USA the game I played down at Dallas or somewhere, right?
Yes, it's in Dallas.
So why him not go broke no curfew down at Dallas and go nowhere? So him go in a camp and go practice and go in a motel, go sleep and eat some food and do what you do. So yeah, you could have given him 145, give him a half a game suspension, coach. Coach, no, me not care if nobody wants to be extreme. You're wrong.
You know it's kind of
was qualified for me. Give him a half a game, make him show up there.
You know, Gunners Boss.
Like how Renee Simons do all that boy over. So even that. At the price we are going to find a brother, at least give we a chance, coach. You don't give we a chance to win right now.
Is that really true though? Because people are saying Stewart was in the 60-man squad, but was Stewart not in the squad because of the curfew violation, or was he not in the squad because of performance? I'm not sure which one it is, but
I let him play on the team, you know. Different strokes for different folks, you know. You see, if the top man, get a half a game suspension, the man will start for him, I go they go start and show say him can play. So next time that man I gonna know say I don't want to lose my spot. So hopefully, you know, it's a next man up thing, but you have when it comes to the top player, when it comes to Leon Bailey at Jamaica, LeBron James right now, Michael Jordan back then. So here what happened to him now. Him to get penalized, but giving that man a full game if that's what really happened, me not agree with it, brother. Tell me if we have a squad we can beat this USA long running and gunning team right now. I said go out Dallas to play over the weekend, Thursday or whenever.
It's going to be a difficult game. And that's another statement, actually. Because I saw Robinson playing for Fulham this weekend, and he looks fantastic. So, and he's not one of their star players. So you can imagine the rest of them if they are. And most of them are playing well, actually. Apart from probably Reyna, who's not getting game at Nottingham Forest, but the Musa and the Pulisic and others are playing well. So it's going to be a difficult game.
Giorina get back in game for the yesterday squad.
Yeah, man, he's back in the squad. All is forgiven. So we're not the only ones who have drama, you know. Other people have drama. People have drama too.
Kronky, look at that, Kronky.
Yeah.
If I was booked, what the coach name again?
Bert Holder, or whatever his name is.
Bokalta, what his name? Bokalta. Yeah. If me was that man, that family could never even go anywhere near my team again. Them try to destroy that man over petty because of the same thing where our coach do know him to him, you know.
No, that two are not comparable. No. One was about a player. No.
Because the coach said never good enough and never give.
No.
Him is a nepotism baby. Him expects me to run the team, and the coach never allowed that. The coach take charge of the team, and the things them do are things that happen from way back in a 90 long. That it should even come up with them to try to destroy that man's career.
No, I don't disagree with you in terms of the approach they took, which was really distasteful. What they did, they brought up things from his personal life, which put him in a very difficult situation. I'm surprised they rehired him. and it was a player-coach conflict, and they thought the player was being penalized. His parents thought so, and his dad played for the U.S. and his mom was also a soccer player. But I thought the approach they took and what transpired was just very salacious and probably tabloid type stuff. But it shows you that different, if we think about the football between U.S. women's and the Reina situation between what happened in France with women, Spain. Yeah.
Diego, I listen this show, it look like Diego call this show. I said Diego call me like Diego tell me so come off of this.
No, but he can call. If he was calling in, I would get another call in and I would transition it.
Diego was going to call you?
No, I didn't see that call coming in.
Okay, well, maybe more call him and tell me to come off of it. Never come off it now. Let somebody else call.
All right, Gunners. Thanks for calling. So Diego, if you were trying to call, you can call the number now. I'll put it back in the chat. And Gunners boss was milder tonight than he was the last time. Last time he was on the warpath. So it's a good thing. So I'm putting the number back out. Ready to call in. It is now in the chat. I think the number is also on WhatsApp. So if you call it 876, from 876 number or from another number called through the WhatsApp, it should come through. So as we just talked to Gunners boss about the discussion, as it normally does, transition to the suspension and Bailey, and we're getting all sort of, bless up Rockford, getting all sort of conjecture. People, please hit the like button when you come in. We have 74 likes and 111 people in the chat. Please hit the like button. Also the conjecture as to whether or not the punishment was fair. I heard a coach in Jamaica express a view. I see somebody calling. Good night, caller.
The great Kronky out of Brooklyn, York, out of Brooklyn College.
Diego, bless up. How are you doing? Is this the great Diego to play for Jamaica, or is this another Diego?
No, this is not the Jamaican that is to play for Jamaica. No, that is the legend himself, man. May he rest in peace, man. What a great man, man. I'm not close to that man, man. Not even close, man.
Yeah. He was a brilliant footballer. I would agree with that. I knew him well.
No. Man, I saw that. Let me just give them the New York experience. People don't know that there was a Haitian league before the Jamaican league at Jefferson High School, man. I saw 5,000 Haitians. Diego Gordon came late. And as the man walk on the field, and when I'm sorry, the 5,000 stand and say, the God has come, man. I'm out to the man, First touch the man, making up. 5,000 just go out of them stands and so the king has come, man. They go Gordon and normal, man. This is not Jamaicans, These are Haitians,
Yeah.
So they go say, there's no connection, just the beauty of the ball of the man. The man is normal, man. The man is normal, man. No, one of the greats.
I agree.
Yeah, man.
So what's
I know what's great about him too. What a fun player. The man just enjoy his football. It's laughter and fun.
Well, you know what's funny about that? So, we used to play over by Buffalo Park, right? With a number of players who I play for Jamaica. Because, Buffalo's one of the earlier teams. And Diego and Echo George used to be in the park. And the best part of the evenings would be, subsequent when the games were completed, there'd be two comedians and play doing their part, and there would be a show being put on. And you don't want to be in the front seat of that show because you get, when you go to a comedy show and they pick on the people in the audience, they will destroy people. You're just trying to hope you're there laughing, but you're hoping you're not the butt of the jokes. It was just amazing seeing him and Echo George just talking a lot and giving jokes, and everybody's having fun. So yeah, he was a brilliant footballer, but also just as well very funny as well.
The foundation days, man.
Oh, Diego, I was told to remind you that you're on the air, that you're live.
Yeah, man. That's why I got the number now, so I know I'm live, man. It was the management person. So listen now.
Yeah.
Leon Bailey.
Yeah.
Because I want to get your take, and then I give. What is your take? First of all, it's a very simple thing. Do you agree? I'm not talking about punishment, Do you agree in the timing of the punishment? That's what I'm talking. Because we run football club and we know you break a rule like that, you're supposed to get punished.
Yeah.
So I'm not arguing about whether you should be punished or rules. I'm saying, but everything, there's timing also. Just like when you have certain things done. What do you think of the timing of the punishment?
I think if you want to send a message, there's no better time to send it when something is at stake.
Okay, listen to me now.
Yeah.
Two intellectuals reasoning or run football clubs. Why didn't he make the statement then, the game before Canada? When he made the transgression, why did he play him in the Canada game?
It's a fair question to ask, and I'm surprised that that question wasn't posed to him during the press conference, right? Because one would think, and maybe they wanted time to digest what transpired and to think about. No, wait.
Don't try to create nothing.
No. But listen.
If you want to make a statement, what time you need? We broke a rule.
No. But here's the point, though. Maybe you look. There's two things here. There's one was like, you know what? There were probably subsequent dialogues that informed the decision that was made. So at the time, it was fresh, it was new, it was never been done. There's a punishment, and they had considered what would be appropriate punishment, and it was too close to the timing of the game. Right? You're right. You could have said, "Look, you're not playing this game." But the question is, was it too soon afterwards? And do you need time to digest it and make a decision and consult all the pertinent parties, like the senior players, before you make that decision?
Okay, so we can create what we think then, because he's not answering the question. So you're giving me what you think or speculating, right?
Yes.
So I'm going to give you my take now, because I can also give you my take then, because we never know. I'm saying maybe. Because remember, the game against Canada was a defining moment in not just the Reggae Boyz, but in also Hallgrim's career. He was under a lot of pressure,
right,
up to that game. So he could have said to himself, "Listen, I'm an ambitious man. This game here defines my. If we don't go to the Gold Cup, if we don't win the game, there is no Gold Cup. There's no Nation League semifinal. Even my job would come under pressure." So he probably thought the game was so crucial then, not just for the campaign, but for himself, that he decided, hey, I'm not going to take a risk here. I need Leon Bailey and the best team here against Canada. That could also be his thoughts.
But Diego, think about it this way, Diego, which is I'm not saying what you're saying may not be part of the thought process, because coaches like to win. But I was actually watching a video today where Arteta was talking about Aubameyang and why he made the decision he did. He was saying, when Aubameyang went to France when his mother was sick, came back late, and he first...
I don't know the story, but I'm listening.
So here's the story. He went to France, his mother was sick, he went to France, came back late, and he was benched, and then Arteta basically said he's suspended basically indefinitely, right? And subsequently, he was no longer on the team, he was disbanded, right? But at one point, Arteta needed him to save his job, and he used him then and gave him a lot of money. So you may be right in your assessment and say, you know what? I need my best team to get me over the hump. But you know what? When this is done, this punishment needs to be administered.
There you go. That's how I'm thinking now.
It's a possibility. It's a possibility.
But here's another thing I want to run by you again. We have run clubs. We have seen clubs run. There's different ways of punishing. There's no bigger punishment than take away money, Why couldn't he have fined him?
No. I disagree with that.
Okay, yeah.
So in today's environment, where players make ridiculous amount of money, where are you going to find him to make it be a deterrent?
But I see NBA players get fined all the time.
No, but players get. But see, what people understand with the NBA is that it's a construct in the NBA whereby it's what they agree in the collective bargaining agreement. That's what they agree to, right? Most time it's fine, but if you get like flagrant fouls, for example, you pay money. But if you do something egregious like what's his name from Golden State does, you may get suspended. But the rules are predefined about what suspension entail a lot of times in these leagues. That's why people get fined, because that's what is agreed to with the players' associations, for example.
All right. So let's move on.
So this is different. This is different.
I you say is different.
Yeah.
But money is money. You're telling me Leon Bailey don't care if he loses money?
Some players, look, if you're making £100,000 a week.
How do you know that it won't be a punishment to Leon Bailey? You can't say that.
First of all, no. I heard in public domain, someone says who's a Philly player, he's a millionaire. So if you find a millionaire $10,000, you think that's going to be a big deal?
I don't know. I am saying to you, I know money. It has been done before.
Here's what I learned, actually.
Fine is also a punishment.
So Diego.
I don't know his spending habits. I don't know his mentality. I don't know if it's going to matter to him or not. Maybe he don't care. I am just saying that
so Diego,
of punishing athletes, which is fine.
So Diego, here's my analogy with that, Diego. I have some young adults who live with me, right? And if I want to punish me, you know what I do to punishment? I take away the phone and the iPad. No matter what age they are, frankly, they're teenagers or they're even younger. The phone and the iPad goes for a while, Diego. And you'd be amazed how miserable they get. So even the old corporal punishment, which I don't do, by the way, if you hit them, wouldn't hurt as much as the phone and the TV and the iPad be taken away.
There's different ways.
Right?
What I'm saying to you is this.
Yeah.
I am saying this is another way you could have fined him and everybody wins. The fan win.
I don't think money. Okay, Diego, would we have this conversation if it was money? Would we be talking about this? Would we be having this conversation if it was money?
If you find the money?
Yeah.
Of course not. Because I'd be happy by going to see Leon Bailey and want Jamaica to win and see the best teams that I can.
That means the punishment is not severe enough to be a deterrent if we're not talking about it.
It's not about us talking about. It's not to punish we.
No. Diego.
It's to abide by your rules and your punishment. So he's saying this is to punish us also. So
Diego, what is the deterrent for other players not to break curfew if that's your solution?
No, you're missing my point.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to be a deterrent. I'm just saying to you, another way of punishing players I've seen all over the years is fining them their pocket.
No, I agree with.
I don't know. Maybe it wouldn't matter to Leon Bailey or the other players. I don't know. I am just saying that this is another way they could have fined the player.
Yeah, to me, money is no longer a deterrent as terms of a form of punishment for players.
Okay, so then he has to answer the question.
So no, okay. Here's the money's a deterrent.
Hold on.
Yeah.
So then we need to ask him the question then, and somebody needs to. You guys are the journalists. You guys see these people. Why didn't he not punish him the Canada game when he broke the rule?
Right. So it's probably late in the process now to ask that question, frankly, because he probably say, you know what? No, it's a little bit late because the game would have been played, right? So it wouldn't nearly matter. But you know what? Prior to the game, I'm sure there are going to be opportunities for analysts and media personnel to ask questions. So I'm sure that can be planted. Another question that comes up because it's a continuous discussion around the rationale for not administering punishment in a different form and to not hurt the team in terms of playing. But I do think players observe these things, other players, and are going to say this is a star treatment. And why is it that others will be punished differently? So, for example, here's a question I have asked. Was Stewart out the 60-man squad because of performance or because of the curfew violation?
Okay.
Right, because Bailey was in the 60-man squad. So
that's the problem I'm having, Kronky.
Yeah.
No, these journalists not asking these coaches. Why don't they ask these coaches these questions?
Yeah.
We can always hear speculate and we can give our theory now.
Yeah.
But they're there. I see them on the YouTube with the managers in front of them. And them can ask someone a simple question. Think you so serious about why didn't you punish Leon Bailey? Why did you let him play the Canada game 5 months ago? That's all we're saying.
No,
So
I think
I hear what you're saying, and I hear what I'm saying, and like you said, we can always come with our theories and our speculations. Okay? Because we have our channel, we have a YouTube channel, we talk and we have to talk. But why don't these journalists, my problem is why don't these people ask these questions to the coach?
I do ask myself the question. Look, every journalist can think of every question that we could ask, but I do believe sometimes you have to prepare for these these media sessions, these forums, and you have to really think about what is it that the audience wants to know, what's pertinent to them and important to them, and make sure you pose those questions, right? You may not get the answers you're looking for, but as you're saying, which is it's a pertinent question, and in hindsight should have been asked.
So it leaves Diego now, as a man who's been in football, managed football, old football team, to say, listen, man, this puts a tick in career, man. In career, a pressure will reach him now. You have this big money, and you know, you can't, you lose a ticket, you don't go Gold Cup, you don't go Nations League. And he probably, he did it, he was thinking about himself then. And realized he needed a Leon Bailey. Now he doesn't need a Leon Bailey. Half of the team is missing. He can afford to lose this game, so his career is secure. You can speculate that.
Diego, that's too much speculation. I can't go along with that speculation. that's going to take it to a whole different level.
Keep up the good work.
Yeah, man. Thanks for calling. Appreciate it. All right.
Yeah, man. Respect you.
All right, that's all. That was Diego, people. If you know, Diego has been involved in football for a long time in the New York region. Had teams playing in Bronx League and other leagues in Queens and Long Island. Has been a really advocate for football, especially in the Caribbean community, for a long time. So Diego, thanks for calling. Really appreciate it. Any other callers? Number is 347-728-8625. We're at 11:29, and I'll close off in the next 10 to 15 minutes. I appreciate the calls from Mr. Gunner's Boss. Gunner's Boss, appreciate you calling in and having I'm going to call it a civilized conversation tonight. And Diego, thanks for calling. I appreciate you calling in also. And I think Diego asked a very pertinent question, which is, why wasn't the coach asked about the timing of the punishment, given that the violation occurred prior to one of the games played in the Nations League leading up to the semifinal? Is it that they needed more time to assess and determine the severity of the punishment? What drove the decision-making process? And sometimes in those, to be fair, in those media conferences, you only get time to ask one or two questions. And you may have something that you're passionate about, you want to ask, and you may not get the time to ask multiple questions. So I can see sometimes when the questions are not asked, but I think the suspension has been very prominent in the news. It's something people are very, very focused on, because if one think about benching a player who is important to the team, then it may affect the performance of the team. I find it hard to believe that senior players on the team were not notified of this prior to the execution of the suspension, and may even have an input in it, or maybe not actually input, but at least gave a secret nod that, you know what, it's due, given the severity of the action taken. You got to remember, people, what the coach said. The coach basically said that they had a curfew for 10 p.m. and the player was late for the bus, which was in the morning. So we're not talking about a 10 p.m. curfew bus at 12 p.m. The player didn't sleep at the hotel and got there late missed the bus or whatever it is. So that can be acceptable behavior. And if you're part of the playing contingent, you're part of the squad, and you see this occurred, you're just waiting to see what the coach is going to do. So we can argue about timing all we want, but it's not the best look for the two players involved. And it's not the best look for a player who's supposed to be one of the key leaders for the team and who has made sacrifice for the team, right? We know the player was injured when he was here in the last window. So the player has made sacrifice for the team. So it's unfortunate that this transpired, actually. And hopefully we can move along from this. It's not a good look. Let me take some other comments. People, we have about 10 more minutes before we close this down. And thanks for joining us. We have 109 people in the chat. We only have 81 likes. And I'm sure there's more people who have come and left during this process. So please hit the like button while you're here. And again, thanks to Diego and Gunner's Boss for calling in. Brain Drain, I was asking these questions. Brain Drain, I heard something today that I thought was interesting. And when I think, I'll go along and think about it. And as we go through this, I may mention it before the end of the stream, but thought it was really, really interesting. Some older Caucasian men was talking about Lil Wayne and some rap music sung and trying to extrapolate from what he was saying, what he really meant. And I'm sure I think he was giving Lil Wayne too much credit, but that's just me. And I go back to your point here. I'm not sure. By the way, I'm not a big rap fan, so it's always interesting to see what people are talking about and hearing it, because I follow some of these things, but from afar, not close up. So, Brain, you're saying, will Bailey be a repeat offender, and what will happen then? Well, here's the question, Brain. How do you know he's not already a repeat offender? That's the question. You're thinking that this was the first offense. I would dare to say it'd be rare if a player got such severe punishment on a first offense. It'd be really rare. Because in the Obama situation I mentioned with him missing team meeting, visiting his mom in France, I think it wasn't a first offense actually. And that's why the line was drawn and he was cut from the squad, even though he was the highest earner, making £350,000 a week. And that's my point to Diego, which is, if you're making £350,000 a week, and even if you lose 100,000 in one setting, you're still making 250. And after tax, you're probably taking on 130, 125 in the UK. Still a lot of money. So, and you've been making that money for a while, it doesn't hurt as much. Not playing in a big game is painful, especially when you had blood, sweat, and tears to get to that point. So I think denial of opportunity to play is much more significant and painful than deducting some money from the person. So Rockford is saying, Kronky, the fans need to understand that Bailey agreed to and accepted his suspension. I don't think, Rockford, I don't think fans care, you know. I think fans are focused on themselves, which is outcome. And that may strain me saying themselves, which is they want the best team on the field to win so they can feel proud of the team and feel happy about winning. And they don't want to accept anything that may prevent that from occurring. So even if Bailey says, yes, I did it, I'm wrong, it's not the first time, I don't think some fans would care. And I heard a big coach in Jamaica, well, a well-known coach, I'm not sure it's a big coach, basically saying he didn't agree with the suspension and giving his rationale. And I listened to saying, I must say, I thought about this person should not be a coach. The rationale he was giving didn't make sense to me, and goes to my own perspective on coaches in Jamaica and how they think and how they operate, and that they need to change and improve, basically, to improve the players. I just didn't understand what he was saying, and his rationale didn't make sense to me. Kronky said, Kronky wear glasses. Yeah, true, Kronky, I do wear glasses. I am nearsighted. Yes, I do wear glasses. Why is that? Is that I can't see well? It's very obvious that I wear glasses. I don't have any contacts, by the way. Logic is saying, Bailey, I'm a baller, but him deserve it. He missed another trophy because we'll be winning one this week. And I mentioned this yesterday. I have never in my life seen a more confident set of fans than Jamaica fans for the football team, even though, frankly, sometimes they have no reason to be that confident. I'll be honest, no reason. And I said this before, if you go in a poll that's conducted, no matter what team you put it out, you'll see 70-80%, even more, saying we're going to win. And they're confident too. It's not like false braggadocio. It is they're confident they're going to win. So it's interesting to have that confidence. So it's interesting to see the confidence in the team. And look, I hope the team wins. It's hard to go to games and see your team playing and then not have a positive outcome, especially when you know the opposition is very strong. And my curiosity is for this game is to see what strategy the coach would employ. Now, we know that Jamaicans love the pretty football, the possession football, at least most Jamaicans do. But the national team plays, I'm not sure what the national team plays. A lot of times we see them playing what people call long ball or, play the ball over the top a lot, which is prone for turnover. But I can't tell you a style of play that we have, frankly. And I've been watching us for a while now. I don't see one. And I think that's where you see the JFF, as they talk about their initiatives and their manifesto and what they're planning to do, they do want to have a style of play. So I'm getting a call in. Good night. You're on I Am Sure Sport. Hello, good night.
Good night, Kronky.
Who am I speaking to?
Are you hearing me?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Yes, you're speaking with Gavin.
Gavin?
Yes, Gavin.
Good night, Gavin. How you doing? Gavin, by the way, Gavin, you're on live. Just want to make sure that there's no mistake. You're on live.
Yeah. I'm aware.
Okay.
Right, so what I want to say, first thing first, the narrative that the player got was called up but refusing to go because he wanted to focus on the league.
Right.
That was first brought up by Craig Butler and another YouTuber platform. That's the first thing, which to me makes absolutely no sense, right? He was wondering on the night before that, okay, before we say anything on the matter, we want to see how it is that they spin it the following morning, which makes absolutely no sense to me. But such is life. One of the things that I want to take note of or mention is the fact that, like, when I'm on viewing other person's live streams, or even just being on Instagram, JFF Instagram, I noticed that several other persons, they tend to be very critical of the coach and JFF, and it makes absolutely no sense to me. And I think what it does, it kind of ponders to the microcosm that exists within our society. Because here you have a player. Because first thing first, I think someone had mentioned, or the coach had mentioned that how they phrase it is kind of different, because he's saying that he does not have any rule, he does not have any curfew. He just wants to ensure that by 10, ensure that all players are on camp. That's the only rule that there is, and he wasn't. And to see a lot of the fans are chastising the coach, and even some persons calling for his head because he punished one of the team's best player in terms of on form right now. It's just crazy, and I just don't get it. I just don't get it.
Right. So I don't disagree with that. First of all, I think it was interesting you mentioned who provided that perspective initially. I'm a little bit surprised to hear that, actually. And obviously we know it's disingenuous and it's not the case. And secondly, can't disagree with what you're saying in a sense, because I think it's important to have discipline in a team, right? If you don't have discipline, then what do you have? Especially for a group of players who, a number of them are doing really well. And I know Diego mentioned the whole concept of fines via financial fine, a monetary fine, but I'm not sure that's enough of a deterrent. And we have to trust the coach, because every coach wants to win. Can you imagine this coach winning the CONCACAF Nations League? It would be great for his resume. So why would he want to hurt himself? He must have thought that he had to administer this punishment to make sure he has hold of the squad and make sure the players respect his authority. So I'm not sure why that's so difficult to understand and to buy into, actually.
100%. And as I said, one of the things that I take away from this situation, especially, if you go on the latest posts which are made on Instagram, on the JFF page, you see how many persons are cussing out the coach and it's JFF fault, and it makes no sense. And to me, as I said before, it's kind of a microcosm of what exists in the wider society. If we take, for example, the latest high-profile case with Vibes Cartel, there are so many persons who are already saying, free Vibes Cartel, or whatever the case may be. And it's interesting to note that, persons are saying these kind of things. We complain about violence within our society. We complain about indiscipline and all that kind of thing. And at the end of the day, once you start to take a stand against these very things that persons are complaining about, everyone is up in arms about situation. Oh, to give a chance at this, that, and the other. And not understanding that small things like these precipitate into greater things in the long run. You understand me? Because even, for example, some may draw the reference to say, look at Walter Boyd. It was kind of indiscipline that resulted in him being where he is right now. And if it is that we allow indiscipline to fester and this kind of thing, then in the long run it would only result in chaos. And some persons are saying, all right, wrong time. Because I say, for example, Coach Duki is saying wrong timing. Then my question would be to him, okay, if not now, when should it be? Should it be World Cup qualifiers, or should it be Copa America? Or should it be in September when the Nation League comes around again? So it's just crazy to me.
Yeah, you can't have selected timing to administer punishment. You can't make the punishment convenient to the player and satisfy a certain thing. Then it's not really punishment. It's just doing it for doing its sake. It doesn't make sense. So Dwight Spence, please stop that nonsense. So Dwight Spence, so what, Carla? I said Liam Bailey cause the Vibes Cartel Mistral. Dwight, come on. You know better than that. Stop the nonsense, Dwight.
That is the kind of reason that precipitates right through Jamaica.
And by the way, Carla, I totally agree with everything you just said. What you mentioned as the analogy and the example, I've listened to a situation today, and I mentioned it in this session. 95% of people were saying what you're hearing. And I basically said to the host of the program, I thought there was a victim in this. And that therefore you got to consider both sides. People should get fair trial, but somebody actually disappeared permanently. And we don't hear nobody talk about the party who disappeared. I'm here to talk about is the person who is here and is incarcerated. And I'm thinking,
and that's the thing.
Yeah, it's amazing actually.
It's like when I realize, like in Jamaica, for example, we will burn out a situation 100%, except if it is someone popular. If someone popular, then we make an exception. It's just always the case, and we never think about the bigger picture. We must always make an exception for persons who we like, whether or not they're right or wrong. It doesn't matter.
But here's the problem, Carla. The exception becomes the norm. It becomes normalized. So it's no longer an exception. It's the way we do business. Right?
That is true.
It's the way, because if you think about Jamaica, you can buy, and people are going to hate me saying this, you can buy almost anything in Jamaica. You can buy your freedom. You can buy almost anything you want to buy, which cannot be okay, because those who want the resources to buy will always be disadvantaged, and that cannot be fair. And for those who are crying for justice, I think you're blinding as to what justice actually means. Now, justice across the globe and most countries, the privileged will always get their justice in their own way and able to circumvent quote-unquote justice. But we should always aspire to have real justice, because when it affects us, we want that same justice. So, totally agree with what you're saying, Carl.
Okay, Kronky, one thing I want to mention before I leave you, because I know you're wrapping up and such. All right, this whole Leon Kadamacho situation, right?
Right.
I heard a lot of persons.
Bailey Kadamacho. Bailey is his first name. Sorry. Bailey's his first name. Bailey.
Yeah, Bailey Kadamacho.
Right.
Yeah, I'm saying, I'm exceptional.
Caller? Hello? Uh-oh.
Here's the situation that I think a lot of persons are missing, right? I don't think I heard anyone bring it from this perspective. But look at it. Look from it from this perspective, right? When we have these players come in and play for us, we're happy, and each and every time we have a window, it's like we want to know, okay, who's the next player coming? Who's the next player coming? Who's the next player coming? But think about this, Kronky. There are a number of players who have committed themselves to us, right? And we can only play 11 players at a time. and a 23-man squad, depending on the tournament or whatever the case is. But no one thinks about those players who come and we don't play them. Let me give an example. For whatever reason, whether good or bad, look at Jonathan Russell. He came in the last squad when we played Mexico. I think he played well. He gave Leon an excellent through ball, and Leon Bailey somehow messed it up. But anyways, the point I'm making is like a man like him who committed himself to Jamaica and played for us. And every time we call him, we don't play him. Not that I'm saying they should play him because he may have his deficiencies, but at the end of the day, we don't play him. How do we think that makes those players in the long run? Well, they're quick to chastise the players who don't come and play for us or decide to go a different road. It's a matter of demand and supply.
Yeah, so Carla, here's my view on that. We don't care. So I keep telling people this, No, we don't care. I keep telling people it's about players and clubs and countries. Fans just want to win and want the best players. They don't care what happened to the players. This is not a speculation. This is a fact because I watch how these things evolve, and I watch how players come and go, and I watch how fans behave. They don't care, but they want the players to care and care about them and their needs. But they have no desire to care about the player and their needs. So as you're saying, which is an important point, when we call some of these players and they fly all the way from Europe, fly 9 hours, fly 10 hours, sit on the bench for the entire time, get no minutes, go back home, we think, you know what? Suck it up. And if we need you, we use you. And they have no consideration for the player, how they may be feeling, why they may not want to come back, why they don't want to spend 20 hours on a plane to not get any playing time. We don't care. And if you hear people in the UK talking about Ben White because he don't want to play for England and the vitriol he has faced and how bad the people are in the press, especially the traditional press, I'm listening to all this thinking, as I said, players, think about yourself and your family. I'm a fan. I want to win. I want the best players. But players, think about yourself and your family first. Ain't nobody tell you anything. So anyway, Carla, I really appreciate the call, Carla. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Respect, Kronky. Always look forward to you on this show. Your perspective is very balanced, very reasoned, very logical, very cogent. So thank you for having the show tonight. All
right, thanks, Carl. I appreciate it. Have a great night.
Likewise.
All right. So people, I'll take one last call. I'm gonna close it. I did say 10 minutes, but I like to do things on the hour. But you know what? I'm not do it for an hour. I'm gonna do it in the next 5 minutes. So one last call, people. You know the number. 347-728-8625. Love the callers. We have Gunners Boss. We have Big Man Diego, and then we have Gavin Descarlin. So 3 very good calls, by the way. Even Gunners Boss was, how do I put it? I want to be very careful with my word with Gunners Boss because they beat me up. I'm afraid Gunners Boss was reasonable tonight. Let me put it that way. It was reasonable. Okay, sometimes it's not reasonable. And Diego was his normal eloquent self, and Gavin made some very great points. So really good having this engagement tonight. And Dwight, I'm really surprised at you, not Dwight. I'm disappointed with Dwight. I tell you the truth. Didn't comment. Disappointed. Let me see if there are any more comments before we close down the show. And people, before you go, please hit the like button. It was a good evening, by the way. And I took advice from yesterday now. I think A.M. Henry and Stuart suggested that I get some help. So we need help. We have people involved in a discussion. So I made sure I had my phone up tonight. Big up, Coach. Coach, Coach, I thought you take me say, you mean you just land, Coach? You tell me say you don't reach yet. We don't understand you. Link me, Coach. Link me. Because you say you land. We have some discussion, Coach. Because we want to do something unique. Actually, so I want to talk to you about the coach. So link me. You have to talk because you know you're at the game with me. At the game. So I want to do something unique, actually. For the people then. So if you link me, we can try to arrange it. And maybe you link me before we fly out tomorrow. I don't know if I need to take any equipment with me, even though I already have none to take. So I don't know me even I said that. You land on YouTube. Oh. You tell me something slow. Come know you got the game. Somebody say a lot. We see a lot of the stadium. Yeah, link me tomorrow morning. Link me tomorrow. May I fly out tomorrow? Take my flight about 2:00. So link me before my flight. want to discuss something with you. I want to try out still. Probably if we do something for Thursday. So we know you got a match. So link me. We can talk about it actually. So people, now close on the stream. First of all, I enjoyed the discussion tonight with Brian talking about the election results, the composition of the, I was going to say the new team, but the old team with some changes to it. The probably some repercussions that, as it relates to those who lost out in the election. It's very disconcerting to realize, and it's disconcerting in this context, which is not non-change, or the same people them. So hopefully them change, because nothing is not change, because the people them not change. So unless the people decide to change, we can't do nothing about it. We can talk to the blue on the face, we can't do nothing about it. Because as I projected, there is no way we can get somebody new in the JFF seat for the next 8 to 12 years. No way. Unless the people who vote for the parish presidents decide to change and who run the clubs. It's not changing. Because the constituent is only 56, and that's a small number, given the number of votes allocated to the teams and to the parishes. So it never change. So we have to work with what we have to hopefully move it forward and enhance the football and make the football get better. That's important. And secondly, and the fact that, I think Brian mentioned the need for the JFF to work with the girls and get to a good place. And also important to make sure we have the restriction lifted, even though someone mentioned that the restrictions may not be as onerous in my own way, I'm going to put it, as one may perceive it to be. But if you have financial restriction, I'm sure it's more than just giving the money in drips versus giving all the money at once. So my hope is that they can work on a manifesto, resolve some of these situations, these antagonistic relationships that they have, and get it to a good place, and go out and do the business of football. But more importantly than anything is the immediacy of where we are now, which is we have a game Thursday. I see Coach Minzy in the chat, Coach's desk. We're going to be out in Texas. We want to rally the troops. As you can see from Fluid Management tonight, he mentioned that the Jamaica is in section 211 to 213, I think it is, and that he has tickets available. So if you weren't planning to go to the game, you can get to the game. Please do. And if you're in Texas, even though Texas is a big state, you can drive to the game. A number of us are even driving or flying. I'm flying down there, so we'd love to have you. So, and I hear Minz is saying, the girls are forward. So Minz, you're saying the girls have decided to no longer strike. They're gonna get out of striking and come back to the team. Brandon is saying 211 to 216, so I'm wrong. It's not 213. 211 to 216. The Jamaica section is in the stadium, which is a decent size. If you look at this, the Dallas Stadium in Arlington, it's a decent section actually. I think they have tickets for 207 for the final actually, but which is almost in the middle of the park, which I like to sit. But 211, and I think I'm in 213 for this actually, or somewhere around there. I think, can't recall exactly. So Coach Des is saying that the girls have made themselves available. So it's kind of funny that the girls have made themselves available when we haven't heard anything about the money. Because they are saying that people didn't get paid, but we don't hear that they get paid. That's so confusing and so about nothing why they were striking, it appears. Because if it was only about money they struck, because I haven't heard anything else get resolved, but the money was paid, it's just really not a good situation. And then they missed the Gold Cup. It don't make no sense. I've been saying this from day one, that I thought the girls would lose the most. And these election results only goes to confirm all of that. Okay. So Coach Minzy is saying that the girls are available, so we can move away from that. The only problem is there is no competitive football in 2024 for the girls. So we have wasted a whole year plus for nothing, which is just doesn't make sense. But anyway, we have 3 minutes to 12 o'clock. I want to thank all of you for being in with me here tonight. I appreciate you being here. As you're leaving the chat, just hit the like button. As I mentioned before, we're going to do something when we're out in Dallas later this week. Hopefully, each of you can join. I'm sure the streams will be hot across all the YouTube channels because, when we have game, the regular fans turn out and the bandwagonists turn out. You know that goes. So it should be a good thing. So thanks for being here. Love to have you here. Keep on supporting the channel. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. And as Manningsman always say, because it's almost 12 o'clock, we are over and we are OUT out. Have a good night, everyone. Thanks for joining.